Hello traders, Gary Wagner here just after 10 o'clock in Honolulu, 4 o'clock in New York. It is Wednesday, the 7th, 2015, and this is the daily report for gold and silver. We do have the precious metals trading mix today. Gold currently trading off about $1 on the day. Nominal change, we'll call that almost unchanged at $11.45. Very, very tight range, under or just over $10, $11.42 on the low side, $11.53 on the upside in terms of highs and lows on the day. Silver is trading higher on the day, up over or just about 1% on the day, low of 15.84 with a high of 16.11 on the day. Now, we do have palladium trading lower off 11.20 and platinum trading up 1.34%, up about $12.50, $947.20. So traders, after 3 days of trading, this being our weekly chart here, no doubt we can see that gold is still trading higher on the week, although nominally higher. In terms of the range, it's certainly nothing like what we saw last week when we actually came down and touched the 1200 mark in the precious yellow metal. But really the tell of the tape, so to speak, has got to be in our daily chart. Now, we did have gold make a new high on the day. You can see that on this daily chart compared to yesterday's high. But the resistance level that we identified, which is a 23% resistance level from these highs up at around 1171, to the beginning or onset low of the rally, which came in at around 1071, which was our projected low. When we look at that, you can see that we're closing just under this particular price point, which sits at 1147 and change. Now, that, of course, is our shortest in terms of ranges on a Fibonacci retracement. I've just gone ahead and I pulled up a daily chart. We're setting it at 1440. It's set up in minutes, although 1440 equals one trading day. And in this way, we're adding yet another fib retracement. Of course, the first fib retracement that we talked about was simply looking at the range from 1071 to 1171, and that's where we got that number of 47. However, if we then look at the last or more recent high in the market, meaning 1232, and run a fib retracement, it gives us a couple more numbers, and those numbers, I believe, are really much more important as we look at this market in not so much rally mode, but no doubt it has built a base. We've got tremendous support in the area of 1080, call it. We also have really good support at about 1100. That came in. And when we look at this longer fib retracement, of course, we see a couple of things. First of all, the retracement is from 1132 and it goes down to 1071, 1072 in this case, and a 50% retracement comes in at around 1152. And that, of course, matches these most recent tops that you see, both the most recent top that we had in the market that just came shy of 57, and then this high today, you can see that it comes in right at this point, but then kind of peters out. And of course, above that is a 61% retracement, and that quite eloquently illustrates this top here, and where we have some what I consider to be the real level of resistance that we really want to see gold break out of. Because in order for us to extrapolate any kind of bullish models in this market, we have to have a series not only of higher lows, which you get when you compare, of course, 1071 to these lows at around 1100, but you also need to get higher highs. And up until this point, we really haven't been able to do that. Now, the fact that we're trading up in this area, meaning roughly at around the 1150 point, to me, that's extremely bullish. And I would expect on a closing basis to be able to, at some point, either this week or next, break through this particular point. And my belief is that this current rally that we're on should take us and test this particular resistance area at about 1170. And that, to me, traders, would really signal a a real nice run in this market, and more than base building, because if we can get this new high, this high taken out right here at 1171, I really think we're off to the races, because at that point we don't really have any kind of real resistance till about 1200, and you can see that with this top right here, kind of matches right over 1200. So traders, we looked at our weekly chart of gold, which showed a nice gain on the day, but a moderate gain. Silver has just been a spectacular metal, and in terms of the moves that we have seen a completely dramatic move. This, again, a weekly chart. We talked about the fact that we had a genuine breakout the other day, and that is when it came up above 1550. 1550 was really the area that we were looking at that had the major resistance area, but it's just barreled right through there. You can see that on this weekly chart, but when we look at the daily chart, that's really where you see how this market has shined lately, because we have had now 4 consecutive days of higher pricing. Now, although the range is contracting or diminishing, it still continues to eke out a pretty strong and pretty sizable move. Now, in terms of major support in this market, I've got to take a look at these tops right here, and that was obviously our former resistance between 1550, 1560. We've absolutely, completely taken that mark out. And as we are now trading above this, I hold our current support level now at about 1560. That's where I would place that in silver. The other market that's really noteworthy is platinum. Now, platinum had been under pressure throughout last week, but this week we see a lot of those drawdowns really coming back. And what impresses me about this chart, first of all, our MACD, we just got across, this being our daily chart. But even more than that, one of the things that I'm noticing, I just want to change the color on my pointer because I had it for a dark background. But when we look at these channel lines, and this shows really the downward bias that we have seen in platinum beginning of September right in here, as the market hit 1,000, hit some real resistance. Of course, these tops here were around 1030, but there we saw this market pretty much have that downward slope or downward bias. Well, we've got to close above that, and that to me signals a breakout. When you have a market which trades above the channel and you get the MACD crossing at the same time, that's really significant, and I am looking for higher pricing in platinum. And lastly, I do want to take a quick look at palladium. Palladium is off about 1.5%. It is back below 700. But the interesting thing about palladium is when you consider its relationship to the price of platinum. I recall years ago when I first got in the industry back in the 80s, 83 was really the first year that I got in the industry. And you looked at the price of platinum, it was trading above gold. When you looked at palladium, palladium was down in the hundreds. It was, I believe, 135, 140. In fact, time permitting, we'll pull up a long-term chart. But you've got platinum and palladium now in terms of the ratio incredibly close together. In other words, for every ounce of platinum, you can buy only about 1.5 ounces of palladium. That certainly wasn't the case 10, 15, 20 years ago. And to illustrate that point, I was talking about really palladium trading back here. And that's when you really saw it in the hundreds and not 500. But take a look at this spike. Palladium has just been incredible when you consider that it has spiked to 1,100 and then from there completely fell out of bed. We've had this downward bias that we're just breaking after palladium hit about $900 per ounce. And I really believe in terms of potential, palladium could have the greatest percentage gain potential of any of these precious metals. And I absolutely believe that we could easily see palladium over the next couple of months into mid 2016, moving back to about $900 per ounce. Now, of course, it's sitting right now just under $700. That's a $200 move in the price of this precious metal. So that's something we absolutely want to look at long term. But you can see there's some real volatility within this market in terms of pricing structure, but I believe we do have the potential to at least go back and test these highs at $900. This has been Gary Wagner, wishing you as always good trading. We'll talk to you tomorrow for another daily update and review. Bye-bye.